Welcome to another episode of Josh and Kelly, and we have the privilege today of sitting down with both Pete and Dan Van Stralen from the Epic Family Road Trip and from their own channels, The Adventure Guides and Dan Van Stralen. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So just a bit of background, Kelly and I get asked a lot about traveling with children. A lot of our friends are like, well, we can't do it. And we say to them, hey, have you ever seen the Epic Family Road Trip? Those guys did it, and they did it well, and it shows what's possible. And most of the time that people say, oh, no, we haven't. So I say, well, watch them. So we're sitting down here with people who actually grew up on the road.
Yes, and we watched it happen.
Yeah, we did. We watched it happen. And so a lot of things, I'm sure you guys get asked all the time, some of the basics. We want to kind of ask you maybe some slightly different sort of questions to see what it was like growing up on the road. So I guess first question is, what did you love most about growing up that way?
I think it was just really spending time with the family. You know, like our dad was, had a normal job, and our mom was busy taking care of the house. We had school before we started doing this, and the road gave us a chance to, spend more time together. And you're in such a close environment, having all these experiences together, it really made us closer as a family.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that, but I'd also say just because we had the freedom at that point. Once I think I was 13, you were 10 or 11 when we started. I was just getting into high school. He was in, 7th grade or so, and we still could do school, but we could do it with our family. You could do it at your own pace. The online school that came out around the time that we were there and that people have access to nowadays makes it where it's not like olden days homeschool or something. So cool. It's awesome. Sorry. Awesome. Yeah, you just have the ability to still connect with people online, and then that gave us the freedom to travel together as a family, spend time by a campfire, by a waterfall, at the coast, by a beach. And growing up with that freedom, I'd say, is my favorite thing because... Wait for it. Mother's running around trying to film it. He's doing a flyby. That's so cool. He was like 40 feet in the air.
I was about to say.
Reminds me of Alaska. He is having fun. Yeah, and just having that freedom now, having grown up in it, that's where I've realized just the true value of traveling with your kids. I don't have kids, but I appreciate it so much for my parents doing it with us, because it changed our whole perspective on life, what we wanted to accomplish with our own lives, what we wanted to do with our careers, and what we'll do with our families. I think it's an invaluable thing to give to your kids, just based on my own experience having grown up in it as a kid.
I love the fact that you're both doing the same thing. Like you're continuing on, like you said, and then you do it with your family as well.
Yeah. If it was a bad thing, I think we would pick a different career. Yeah.
So are there family traditions that you did while you were traveling with your family that you want to either continue on your own as individuals, or even in the future when you do have families yourselves?
Traditions. I can't think of like much. We do like things on holidays and stuff like that. Is that what you're referring to? Or
no, I'm thinking like, for instance, when you were traveling with EXO, you did your whole 8 o'clock mint thing, like a simple tradition like that. Are there things like that you did as a family that you think, that was kind of cool, that made us connect? We wanted to kind of do that with our own families when we have them, or even together as we travel.
Totally.
Yeah. 100% there is. They're hard to explain because a lot of the time, the way the After 8 thing came out, as I'm sure you're aware, is it was a tradition of our families for around Christmas time. But so we'd get After 8s on like Christmas Eve only. So we loved it, but it would only be Christmas Eve After 8 for like the night watching It's a Wonderful Life before Christmas Day. So we're traveling. We've been on the road for almost a month with EXO on the Nordic series, and Dan happens to find a huge thing of After 8s. And since we're not with the family, he decided to buy them and just eat them. But he ate them all pretty much. And I think that caught the attention of everyone, because like, how do you eat that many mints, and just all at once?
Good.
Yeah, they can't be that good. And it started this tradition. And as Clay described the other day, it's also a part of travel and expeditions. It has a history in that with Shackleton's group in the Arctic, just finding little things to almost game a bad situation, make it fun,
Make it
so
special.
You've got all these things you can look forward to in a day. So you've had a really rough, long day. Maybe it's raining all day. Maybe it's freezing cold. But like after 8, we're going to have fun with the after 8s with either a hot chocolate or a Coke, and all the rules that we made up with them. And
even
that
something that small, like, goes a long way, when it's raining.
Right. So we have many things like that, but I think they'll just come out naturally. I can't even think of them now, but there's so many internal. I mean, we're a big Dutch family, and there's so many inside jokes and little things that they do. It's inevitable that we'll end up doing them.
Yeah, fair enough. Looking back over all the years that you traveled on the road and growing up, what would you say was the hardest part of that for you? Because I imagine for each of you it's different, because everyone's an individual, and therefore what you find difficult can be different from the next person. But what did you find the hardest part of growing up on the road?
Initially, I guess, like say at the very start, for whatever reason, when I was young, I decided that I thought I knew exactly what I wanted out of life, like what I wanted to be and how I would achieve that career. And I was already working towards it as soon as I got into 9th grade and all that. And I was really hardcore set in my ways with that. So I was speaking about freedom on the road. Freedom sometimes comes at the cost of removing security. You remove the security of being at a house, being at a steady place. When you go to high school, you go to your high school. You've got your buddies there still that you grew up with, probably, and then it's really blocked out. Life is blocked out almost month by month. Yeah. And then as soon as we got on the road, it was scattered. It's like, hey, we're going to New Zealand for 6 months, and actually our Jeep didn't arrive, so now we're going to Australia for a month, and then okay, well, while we're here, let's go to Bali, and then after that we just go back home, and we're going to go home, but then we go to Alaska, and then so it just, there's no routine and nothing, and I both loved that, but if I were to think of something that took a bit to get used to and figure out as a young guy, it was just overcoming my initial thoughts of thinking I knew what I wanted out of life, because I was too young. I didn't know anything. And I'm so glad at how it's turned out since then, allowing the road to teach me what's necessary and what's not. Yeah. That was kind of the best thing.
Awesome. Lots of problem-solving skills.
Yeah, right. It's the same for me. Like, that's the only thing I can really think of is just, you sacrifice being able to have a routine, like if you're into fitness or anything like that, being able to go to the gym at a certain time or do whatever at a certain time. On the road, you have no idea what's going to happen. Like you can plan to get into camp at 8 p.m., but then something breaks down and you're on the trail until 1 a.m.
Or you take a long time like us coming here.
Yeah,
that's why we almost missed it.
Yeah.
You end up waking up a little bit later, or you end up driving a little further and stay up till 1 a.m. driving. So.
Yeah, so you sacrifice routine for freedom, and I'd choose that every time, knowing what we know now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you first started, did you feel like in some way you were missing out on a normal sort of childhood?
Funny enough, no. It'll sound strange because we did grow up like that. We had a huge family, so I had tons of cousins. I mean, guys my age, we call them the boys just collectively, was at least like 30 cousins around my age within a few years. So a lot of friends that way, and then a lot of friends at school and everything else. We were part of sports teams. We did everything else that you could do as a young 11 or 12 or 13-year-old. But for whatever reason, I was telling everyone at school, even, they're like, oh man, you're leaving. I'm like, I can't wait to go. Like all I wanted was to go on this next big adventure. It sounded so cool. So it didn't even click, and I didn't think on it long enough when I was young that I was like, oh, I'm going to miss friends or something, because immediately when we got on the road,
so many friends all over the world, and we've met up with a couple that, in all different places around the world. And, every place you go, you know somebody, and it's great. So
as far as like thinking I'd miss out, I didn't worry about it when I was young. Didn't even cross my mind. I was too busy traveling. And then since then, I think 100% we're able to have that, just different, the non-standard. So it wasn't just with guys my exact age. They weren't all other 13-year-olds. Sometimes it was adults you're talking to, you meet this really cool dad of another family. He teaches you how to surf on a beach in New Zealand. Right. And then you happen to, 3 years later, you meet him in Baja randomly, and his family's moved to Baja to start like a surf hotel. And many cases like that, where it's just, you meet incredible people in incredible places. And I think it almost created more of a rewarding friendship system than the standard.
You don't see them after school every day or anything like that. But whenever you do all get together, like even here, we've been meeting up with tons of old friends, and it's more special that way, I think.
Absence makes a heart grow fonder, but
yeah.
It's very interesting because I was like, oh, I wonder if they felt lonely or isolated, or how did they make friends? And that just describes it perfectly. It's a whole different.
It's strange. Like it may sound like I'm just saying that, but I promise you, like it just never felt like that once. We met so many people.
Now, you guys have obviously experienced so much already. Is there something that stands out to you, a place or an event that you think, I'm going to remember this specifically for the rest of my life?
There's a few.
Like one of my favorite memories just of any of our trips was actually in British Columbia. Our family with the 2 Jeeps went over the avalanches. I don't know if you saw that one. Yeah. I think that's probably like whenever somebody tells me like, oh, what was the craziest thing that happened to you? Or like, what's your favorite memory? That's usually what pops up, just because, it was like 3 days of, downpouring snow, working through, we called it winching for inches, like we were stuck in the mountains. But I think just, since it was so hard, that makes it memorable. You're tired, all that stuff. But also it just felt like the most amazing adventure. That's something you don't get to do very often. And we were working together as, like a family unit. So it made all of us grow closer.
I agree with that. I like that. I'm trying to think.
It's too many.
I'm trying to think through. Yeah. Like,
that's what I mean. You have such a huge sampling of events and things that have happened. But, is there something you think that was significant for me for whatever reason, and I'm going to remember that one the rest of my life?
I think the reason why that one stuck in my head as well is like, of course we had done, tons of adventures before that and been to amazing places, but that was like where I kind of fell in love for like adventure, because that was, a risk necessarily that we didn't have to take. It was a decision that we made as a family to cross it and go farther. And just everything that happened after that, even if, it didn't all work out, it just made me like want to do more stuff like that, just get out there and explore.
You say that it kind of expanded the boundaries of what you thought was possible?
Yeah, for sure.
Funny part about that one is that we came up to it and we're like, okay, it's an avalanche. We're not going to cross it, like the smart decision, a true overlander's decision would be not to do that. But Dan and I have been riding together and we're listening to like, we call it Viking music. It's more just old Norse music, and we're like, this is the perfect opportunity. This is exactly what we were walking all over. Exactly. Yeah. So we went walking up on it. We're like,
it's pretty hard.
Yeah, we can do it. And then we ended up out there for 3 days. So it was a funny lesson in that. I think our trip to New Zealand, Australia, Bali, they're all kind of one in my mind because they were. That was the first major overland trip our family had ever done. We had been on the road for about 1.5 years, but that was with the RV, and we were towing a Jeep. But we had just built out this 2012 JK, and I remember like when New Zealand was decided on, I had no clue what that even looked like. Like you learn about it in school, but in geography, you just see it on a map, and then you might hear of a kiwi or something like the little birds, but you don't know anything about it, right? So it was completely foreign, longest flight of our lives. What is it, 18, 19 hours? Yeah. And then you end up on this tiny island, and then our Jeep doesn't make it for a month. Yeah. But immediately we just like, my dad really was the one who took charge there, but he's just like, okay, we'll rent this car for a month, which is unexpected expense, but worked out well. We bought all new tents and everything because all of our camping gear was in the shipping container. Yeah. And then we still just went out and camped for a month. And that first month, I think, is one of the most special times. Yeah. Remember, like on Hay High Beach and Tauranga and Rotorua and everything for the first time. It
really like launched us into this sort of life. Yeah.
Camping and just being adaptable. It didn't even cross my mind that like, oh, something went wrong. It's just like, oh, the Jeep is late. Okay. And then we still went out and we still had an amazing time visiting all the typical. We went to Hobbiton, everything else. If you've ever watched Lord of the Rings,
it also made the world feel so much bigger, you know, because like all of our adventures before that were in North America, you know, and as soon as you get off a plane or off a boat and you're in a completely new place with its own culture and people and accents and all that stuff, you're just like, whoa, you know.
But similar enough, you know.
Yeah.
Like Kiwis are pretty much us, just with an accent. And, it's
speaking English.
yeah. So it was cool that way, and then meeting a lot of the Maori people and everything else. So overall, culturally, the overland side of it being our first like big overland trip as a family, and then the things that happen along the way, the things that just happen along the way, as they naturally do with overlanding, good things or bad or unexpected things or things that you plan forever that completely either meet or do not meet expectations. That whole learning experience for the 6 months was incredible, and I'll never forget that. And the again with the freedom thing, that was like we had school to do, but we completely didn't do it for nearly 6 months, and just surfing all the time and learning. And
it's hard to do school when there's a perfect surf break like 100 feet away.
And I think are just remarkable for young people to have. So.
Right. Sure. All right. One final question to wrap up. When people hear about kind of growing up on the road, they probably have, and they imagine one thing. What is the reality that they never see?
Growing up on the road? I think an important thing that you learn really quick is that all your preconceived notions on what you think it will do for you, what you're going to have to give up, what, you know, all the things, worries and fears surrounded by it, or things that you think you need, they all go away pretty quick because you don't need as much as you think. It's easier than you think in general, say around your own country or your own continent. And I think the positives outweigh the negatives every time with this sort of a lifestyle. If you're approaching it with the right mindset of like, it can be like a vacation or it can be like a job. But to me, it's kind of both, because it is our job and it's our lifestyle. So we've been able to achieve what was always a dream of ours, was to find a job that you love doing, because then you're never working a day in your life. But then also it fits our exact lifestyle of what we want to do. So if you're doing it young, if that's what you're referring to with your question, if you're a young person and your parents say, hey, do you want to go on a big trip? I'd say yes every time. There's so many things to be learned and gained, and people you'll meet and everything else. Everything we've been saying this whole time, you'll get everything you want and more out of travel. And even the hard things will be just valuable lessons if you approach it right with the right mindset. You learn. And it's a world's perspective. It's not. It's no longer the perspective of the house you grew up in or the town you came from. It's a perspective that gets, you know, built upon from experiences, cultures, and people around the world.
Well, we just want to extend a very, very appreciative thank you to both of you guys for sitting down with us and talking about the amazing, you know, life you've had so far. And, you know, so what's the future look like for you guys?
The immediate future is to see our niece. We haven't seen our niece.
Pretty excited about that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's going to be really cool. But then Dan and I are going to prep the bags, pack the truck a little bit better than it's currently packed, and head towards Alaska. So we're pointing north.
Awesome.
It's really been a pleasure to meet you both and to your family. And we really appreciate the time that you took to share your experience with us and everyone else that'll get to see.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you for having us.